I wanted to build on a little bit of what we heard on Sunday about the uphill marathon and the pictures that Sandeep referenced and mentioned years ago that he shared certainly stuck with me. It's a message that has stuck with me for a long time. And it's good to see that our life with Christ is a race, and it's not just a sprint, it's a marathon. And there's a verse that I read recently in John chapter 8 really blessed me. If you want to turn there. You know, we know that expression in John chapter 8. Jesus says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." But who shall know the truth? Everyone shall know the truth, and the truth shall make everyone free? No. It says in John chapter 8 and verse 31, it says that Jesus, there are certain Jews who were starting to believe in him. They were believing in him. And he said to those who had believed in him, "If you continue in my word, then you're truly my disciples, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So how will I come to know the truth, and how can the truth make me free? It's if I continue in Jesus' word. There's an additional, you could say, requirement or condition placed upon those who had come to believe in him. That's who Jesus is talking to, the Jews who had believed in him, saying, you've come to the starting line, so to speak. But now if you continue in my word, if you continue running, then you'll know the truth. And the way I took that was, the one who continues in Jesus' word will continue to grow in the knowledge of Jesus Christ, as we heard earlier, will continue to grow in intimacy with him, and knowledge of his will and knowledge of his nature. And the truth will make them free. They'll increasingly be set free from sin. He goes on to say in verse 34, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. So he's talking about freedom from sin. So if I want to know the truth and I want the truth to make me free, then what Jesus' command is, continue in my word. Don't just believe, but continue in my word. And many times for me, Jesus' word comes as I'm reading the Bible. And continuing in Jesus' word doesn't mean keep reading the Bible. I can think about that, because I enjoy, as we heard, we enjoy learning, and we can say, oh, continue in his word means keep studying. But I have found, I don't know about you, brothers, I have found that reading the Bible can be a wholly seeming form of disobedience when the Lord is asking me to set something right, for example. It can be a procrastination. It can be a stalling tactic. Oh, Lord, I'm just continuing in your word here. He says, no, not that word. I think about in Matthew chapter 5, where in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says in verse 23, if you're presenting your offering at the altar, you want to do something seemingly holy, present an offering at the altar. But there, if you remember that your brother has something against you, leave the holy thing aside. First, go be reconciled to your brother. And point there being, even something as seemingly holy as making an offering at the altar, Jesus instructs us to continue in his word. Doesn't mean keep reading, keep doing the spiritual seeming thing. It's obey where Jesus is commanding me. And many times for me, I've found a very practical application of this, or a very practical implication of it is, in the middle of my time reading the Bible, it's like a stop sign comes up and I have a choice. I can keep, reading, or I can obey the Lord. And we don't see the choices that way because we think, oh yeah, reading's definitely obeying the Lord. But, like Samuel said in 1 Samuel 15, has the Lord as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as he does in obeying the voice of the Lord? Verse 22, 1 Samuel 15, 22, to obey is better than sacrifice. And to heed, when the Lord says, you're at the altar, but now you remember that your brother has something against you, set it right. To heed is better than the fat of rams. And it just made me think, what's the most important command in this uphill marathon? It's the command the Lord is speaking to my heart at the present moment. The most important command in my life is what the Lord is the next step on the mountain, so to speak. And it's easy or tempting to hear a call or a prick of conscience and almost treat it like a to-do list. We go, okay, yeah, I got that, but I'm going to keep, what else you want to tell me, Lord? What, do you have other things? And as if we can keep going on our walk with the Lord while we haven't taken the step that he's asked us to take. This happened to me very practically even last week. The Lord brought something to mind that I had kind of thought about a couple times, and I knew, yeah, I need to send that email or something like that. And right then, the Lord, that's when he spoke this word to me. If you continue in my word, you're truly my disciple. You can keep reading. A disciple's not a reader. A disciple is a doer of my word. And when my word comes home to your heart, do you have a drop everything mentality? Say, this is the next step up the hill. Jesus said, as we know in Matthew chapter 4, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word which proceeds from the mouth of God. And I'm supposed to continue in the words that are, when he says, if you continue in my word, I'm supposed to continue in the words that are proceeding from his mouth. That's what true disciples do. And we know that when he said that in Matthew chapter 4, he was referring to the passage in Deuteronomy, actually, that when I mentioned on Sunday, or, around in the same area, where Moses says that manna was to teach you that you are to live by every word which proceeds from the mouth of God. And I thought it was interesting to think about Jesus' command to continue in his word to truly be his disciple, and to think about manna, because one of the things we know about manna, I'm going to turn to Exodus real quick in chapter 16. One of the things we know about manna is that they could only collect enough for the day. And it says in verse 19, Moses said, let no man leave any of it. Don't collect more than you need. Verse 20 in Exodus 16:20 says, they did not listen to Moses, and some left parts of it until morning, and it bred worms and became foul. And I thought, what a great picture of my desire to learn beyond my level of obedience. I can spend a lot of time reading lots of things, listening to lots of sermons, but if I'm not obeying at the point at which Jesus Christ is commanding me, continue in this word, all that I gather, all the manna that I gather, you know what it's going to do? It's going to stink. It's going to rot. It's going to collect worms. It'll spoil just like the manna did. And what I need to do is I need to obey. I need to obey the Lord. I was reminded of the verse in Matthew 13. He says, to the one who has, more shall be given. To the one who has obeyed, to the one who has continued in the word which is proceeding from the mouth of God. He's truly my disciple, and he shall know the truth. More shall be given, and the truth shall increasingly set him free. But the one who does not have, the one who doesn't take seriously the word that's coming to his heart, the word of instruction or correction or the conviction, even what he has, even the manna that he thought he gathered, it's going to spoil. And the other phrase that I wanted to mention on as it pertains to this uphill marathon, Sandeep mentioned it's a constant delivering over to death. He mentioned that. Every step is a step of delivering over to death, as we heard earlier from 2 Corinthians 4. We who live are constantly being delivered over to death, that the life of Jesus might be manifested. Where is the strength that we need to constantly be delivered over to death? Where is the strength that we need to continue in his word? We have to continue in his love. And as seriously as we take constantly going the way of the cross, oftentimes when it says continue in my word, there's a cross there. I'll tell you, for me last week, it's embarrassing to have to write an apology. There's a cross there. I go, this person probably didn't even notice. They're never going to know if I bring it up. There's rationalizations abound in the moment Jesus says, continue in this word, but there's a cross there. How can I have strength to continue in his word? I have to be rooted and grounded in the love of God. And as Jude says, keep yourselves in the love of God. As we've heard, climb up into the lap of love. So we continue in his word and we continue in his love. And it's as we do so that we can make progress. We can progress up in this uphill marathon race. So I was blessed to remember that. To obey is better than sacrifice. To obey in the point at which the Lord is speaking is better than continuing to study. It's better than coming to the altar. if you continue in my word, then you're truly my disciple. And if you continue, then you'll know the truth, and that the truth will make you free. But if you hold back at this point, there's no promise. There's no promise you'll know the truth. There's no promise that you'll be increasingly made free. Go back, as Brother Zach has said, when the referee blows a whistle. Alexander was referring to football games earlier, right? You don't get, no matter how many goals are scored after the whistle gets blown, you got to go back to the point where the whistle is blown. And a lot of times with conviction, there's been a whistle blown, and I've noticed it's tempting to ignore the whistle and want to keep playing and want to think we can keep making progress. We can't. There's no progress until we continue in the word which Jesus has spoken to us. So that's the kind of disciple that I want to be. I thank the Lord for conviction that he's given, and the grace, and the fact that we don't have to be condemned, the fact that we don't have to be discouraged. So when the Lord convicts us, he only convicts us in love, and he only convicts us to call us up higher, and he only convicts us in promise that he wants to let us know him and to make us free and to fill us with the Holy Spirit. So we can grab a hold of that word. The condition to truly being a disciple is to continue in his word, to obey the most important command, which is the command that the Lord is giving me in this moment. So I pray the Lord would help us. Thanks.
Those pricks of conscience are such intimate voices of the Lord, especially for me, that is not shared with anybody else. This is a specific thing that the Lord is asking me to do. And am I going to say, I don't care for this intimate voice? It's just a whisper. I'm going to ignore it. So that blessed me.